Okay. Hi there, it's Tim at the Tibetan Buddhist Society, Peaceful Land of Joy, traditional temple. This is a pre-recording just in case our live stream on the 19th of July fails. So it's a backup. It'll probably never see the light of day. For that reason, we might do abbreviated prayers. And so we'll just do refuge and bodhicitta prayer. Sangha to the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I go for refuge until becoming enlightened. Through the merit of my generosity and so on, may I achieve Buddhahood to benefit all beings. To the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I go for refuge until becoming enlightened. Through the merit of my generosity and so on, may I achieve Buddhahood to benefit all beings. So we'll do brief meditation on, last week we looked at, one of the things we looked at was the laziness of thoughts of incapacity or inadequacy or defeatism with regards to practicing virtue and practicing the path to enlightenment. So we thought we might do a brief meditation on that. So the disadvantages of that laziness is that we easily give up or we don't try. So sit in meditation posture, and we can generate the mind to enlightenment, bodhicitta, the pure awakening mind, with a simple aspiration, recognizing all beings, we're all in the same boat together, the big boat of samsara, experiencing various difficulties, dissatisfactions and sufferings, because our minds are bound by delusion and karma. So recognizing also the kindness of other living beings in supporting every aspect of our life, and in previous lives giving us endless support. Then we generate the wish that everyone is free from all their hardship, all their suffering, and all their causes. And for that reason, to make this wish a reality, we aspire to attain perfect, complete enlightenment. And stabilize on that for a couple of minutes, the mind of bodhicitta. and to reach our potential, our Buddha potential, our enlightened potential, our Tathagata essence, then we need to practice joyous effort. And we need to abandon or remove any thoughts of incapacity, any belief we might hold that really we're not going to progress on this path through enlightenment. Because that belief is self-fulfilling, it stops us from trying. It stops us from step by step, whether in this life or future lives. It prevents progress on the path to enlightenment. So no matter how deeply we hold the belief we can't become enlightened, we need to remove that belief using analytical meditation. And there's many reasonings that show it's incorrect. The first is the teachings on this excellent human life, this leisure and fortune, or this freedom and endowments we have in this life. So having a human form with the intelligence and interest in the path, and we're born at a time in an eon when the Buddha has taught, and these teachings have been transmitted through unbroken lineage of realized practitioners all the way down to our root guru, Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden, or to your own root guru. And presented in very easily digestible form. And our life has leisure. We can find some time to study and meditate and develop the mind. So from that regard we have causes and conditions that allow for progress on the path. Secondly, if we look at the ultimate nature of our mind, its emptiness of inherent existence, that the mind is merely imputedly existent, then we can see there's no inherent limitations and no inherent obstructions to us achieving enlightenment. And we can look at the conventional nature of mind. It's impermanent, it's So it can change from deluded state to an enlightened state. And it has the nature of clarity and awareness. Its nature remains untainted by all the negativity that we have done, all the negative actions and thoughts. Just like gold cannot rust, the nature of our mind is completely pure. And so this nature of our mind is our fundamental potential for enlightenment. You can also think the cause always leads to result. If we have all the causes, then we will get the result. Causation is reliable. So we create the causes for enlightenment by practicing the path to enlightenment. We will eventually attain the result. Just as the Buddha did. Buddha originally was deluded, like ourselves, but practiced the causes of the result enlightenment. We can have confidence we have the capacity to attain enlightenment, because all the great teachers of the past, from Guru Shakyamuni Buddha down to our kind root Lama Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden, and to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, they all taught the Dharma. Why would they teach us if we don't have the potential to realize these teachings? In addition, we can think that the Dharma, the holy Dharma, is non-deceptive. It always works if we practice it. If we rely on the Dharma, we get the result. Geshe also said, within your own continuum, this life, you can see how much you've developed. When you were a baby, you had no knowledge. You didn't realize fire was hot or dangerous. But step by step, we've developed tremendous wisdom and learnt about the world and other people and so many different things. This again gives us confidence in the ability of the mind to develop. So we can practice with more courage and confidence. We can attain enlightenment. Because it's the truth. So we determine, we make a personal commitment, a renewal, a commitment to practice the path to enlightenment. Using skillful method. And abandoning any fear or thoughts of incapacity or weak mind. And we can finish the meditation. So we're still looking at joyous effort. Last session we looked at the definition, joyous effort, taking delight in virtue, taking delight in Dharma and practicing, helping others, and that the obstruction is laziness. So the main obstruction to this joyous effort is laziness, which is the mind that identifies, knows the causes of happiness, but doesn't engage them or engages them weakly. It doesn't really practice. So there are three types of laziness: the laziness of procrastination, the laziness of attraction to meaningless activity, and the laziness of inadequacy or thoughts of incapacity. So the antidote to laziness of procrastination was impermanence, and recognizing we can practice in any situation. We don't have to wait for the perfect situation. Then antidotes to laziness of attraction to meaningless activity is recognizing this birth is rare and precious, and we don't want to use it all up and end up with nothing in our hand, empty hand, no essence, waste the opportunity. So the next section in Geshe's Path to Enlightenment in Tibetan Buddhism is on page 747. We're looking at the four forces or the four powers that cultivating merit to nourish joyous effort. And these four forces or four powers that Shantideva mentions in, or talks about in engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds, are aspiration, steadiness, joy, and discarding, or joy and rest. So we need to develop these four forces or powers that support our joyous effort. So there's a quote here again. Shantideva said in his Engaging in the Bodhisattva Deeds, the Mighty One has said that aspiration is the root of every facet of virtue. Its root is constant acquaintance with the ripening effects of actions. So that's in that verse, aspiration is the root of all facets of virtue. I think sometimes that's all quoted, translated as faith. I think in the fundamental potential, Geshe also translated as faith. But in the path to enlightenment, it describes faith. There's different types, and one is believing faith. Another is a sort of yearning or longing faith. So that's very similar to aspiration. So they're called, these four are called forces because, or powers, as they make our effort powerful. So aspiration, if we have aspiration, we have a much more, make a much stronger effort because we really want something. In that verse, the ripening, its root is the root of aspiration's constant acquaintance with the ripening effects of actions. So that's primarily conviction in karma that leads us to be motivated. So we can practice Buddhism with just a recognition in this life, for example, negativity like anger or jealousy or worry. They do us a disservice in this life, but and so we're determined to give them up. But really, at a deeper level, we need the conviction in karma that these all our thoughts, all our actions make these imprints on the mind, which really establishes what sort of future rebirths we get, and our experiences in those rebirths. It really establishes who we are down the track in the future. So seeing the ripening effects of karma we see with non-virtue, then it produces, non-virtues produce a sort of result similar to the cause. So experience similar to the cause, and habit similar to the cause, and so on. So we basically entrench ourselves, whether we're always grumpy or always dissatisfied, or always competitive or always angry. Then we entrench ourselves in that through the habit energy and through karmic seeds or imprints. So, and that results in more delusion and suffering, being caught in the cycle of samsara, of endless uncontrolled rebirth and suffering experiences that we don't like. So the ripening effects of karma, of actions, also refer to virtue, fortunately. So again, we can look at it just in this life, that if we learn to relax, if we become more peaceful, if we develop love, develop compassion, we develop our patience, our concentration, then it supports our life and our relationships. It's a good result in this life. But again, at a deeper level, all those actions are making imprints on our mind stream that will support our future lives and experiences, produce good future lives and experiences. So, like the karmic outcome of health or wealth or beauty or respect, sort of worldly things such as those, through to liberation from psychic existence and complete perfect enlightenment. So if we really understand those ripening effects, deeply understand them, then our aspiration changes, because we don't want suffering. We want happiness. We want well-being. But it's hard to change aspiration. For example, an alcoholic can be very, very clearly damaging themselves, damaging their relationships, grasping after liquor, lying in a puddle of vomit, still grasping after liquor. And it's hard to change that aspiration. But sometimes some people do manage to get out of that cycle. And I think often it's through gaining a deeper clarity that this really is harming them or doing them a disservice, and that life could be better. So, our intelligence can prevail. Same with smoking, or same with any destructive activity. Then our intelligence, if we understand something at a deep level, a personal level, like with smoking, I could be coughing up blood, If I carry on down this path, I could be coughing up blood. And if we realize it deeply on a personal level, then our intelligence can prevail. And that acquaintance with the ripening effects of actions. So, but it is hard to do. And often we have these underlying wishes or aspiration. So we might be a Dharma practitioner for a long time, but still always being competitive or egotistical or selfish, self-cherishing. Even though we think we're practicing Dharma, the underlying aspiration can be a non-dharmic. So, it's a challenge to change aspiration. So if we want bodhicitta, if we want to realize bodhicitta, we need a strong aspiration. It's not an easy thing to do. We need a strong, committed, deep aspiration. So we need to see the ripening effects of bodhicitta, the extraordinary benefits of bodhicitta, such as the 10 benefits. And if we really want to realize emptiness, then we need a strong aspiration for emptiness. Because again, it's not an easy thing to do. So we have to see the ripening effects of realizing emptiness, the freedom from suffering and liberation from samsara and so on. So, the aspiration, Mahayana, the best aspiration is bodhicitta, which is composed of these two parts of aspiring to free others from suffering and aspiring to attain enlightenment. And that's the entranceway to the gateway to the Mahayana, and it ensures that everything becomes the cause of enlightenment. So, extraordinary aspiration. So, if we see that and believe it, then we can try and understand, maybe why don't I hold that aspiration strongly? And it's probably useful for us to clarify our own aspiration, sort of at a personal level, like to really clarify, what do you want with the rest of your life? what do you really want? And so I have a sense of what am I capable of? What do I really want, heartfelt want? What am I capable of? And often we get distracted, or we don't believe it's possible to achieve these things, or we might be a bit attached to our current state, so that sort of waters down our aspiration. So then we can try and imagine freedom, or try and imagine the state of Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden, or the state of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, or your own Khandrit Lama. Or try and imagine a state where you were free of all your normal worries and fears, like complete freedom, and the ability to directly help others, maybe with clairvoyance, knowing others' capacity and others' mind, and having the love and compassion and the drive to help others. Try and imagine some of these things. And then that can support our aspiration. Particularly if we imagine, well, why couldn't I gain that state? And so I suppose also we can ask what actually obstructs, what's obstructing our progress, or what's obstructing us gaining a clear Dharma, Mahayana aspiration. So we don't have personal experience of enlightenment or nirvana liberation, but we do have personal experience of lots of different types of suffering. So maybe from that perspective, then suffering is more powerful motivator for us than enlightened qualities. But on the other hand, we do have small experiences of peace, of calm mind, of joy, of some sense of freedom. And also, if we're lucky enough to have personally known or lived with a fully qualified Mahayana guru, then a pure holy being, then also this is invaluable, because it shows us what we can be aspiring towards, this purified state, this amazing ability and warmth and presence and so on of a holy being. So that too supports our aspiration. So with the aspiration of renunciation, for example, there's said there's part of it is looking down, and part of it is looking up. So looking down is like looking down at the small scope teachings on impermanence, the nature of impermanence and death, and suffering experiences of the lower realms, the three lower realms, and suffering experiences of humans and so on. And this motivates us to renounce suffering, to understand we've had enough, and understanding the Four Noble Truths. So that's the sort of looking down aspect of renunciation, but the looking up aspect is looking up at nirvana liberation, or looking up towards enlightenment. and looking up at the bodhisattva grounds, the qualities of these bodhisattvas on the various bhumis, the various bodhisattva grounds. And or we can imagine being in a pure land with the holy Buddhas. That's a sort of sense of looking up, and that cultivates our aspiration to pull us in that direction. So yes, with aspiration we can rely on our imagination, rely on our intelligence, and rely on the path to enlightenment to strengthen our aspiration. So we need clarity to stop practicing half-heartedly and really engage the path with all we've got. So the second, that's the first of the powers. The second of the powers is steadiness or steadfastness. And Geshe described that as a direct translation is the power of strength. We need the power of strength or steadfastness. And it's taught here in the Path to Enlightenment that it means we finish whatever task we begin, we determine to keep going and finish it. So we keep chugging on, much as your heart keeps beating. It just keeps chugging on, chug, 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 chug. And we need that with regards to our Dharma practice. So when we do something, we determine to steadily complete the task. So Path to Enlightenment explains if we're rushed in our Dharma practice, or we've got unrealistic expectations, then that gives rise to frustration and possibly disappointment. So you really get stuck in, and you get up really early in the morning, you're doing multiple hours meditation a day, and after a while you feel you haven't changed a great deal, and or you go into retreat, too tough a retreat, and then it might give you this frustration or disappointment, might cause you to give up the Dharma. So your end result is worse than you never starting. It's it's not good. So Shantideva said here, again from engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds, first prepare by analysing well to see whether to begin or not. If unable, it is best not to begin, but once started, then never withdraw. So so we need to check first. First prepare by analysing well. So we need to check first, and Geshe in his teachings, he said you need to do that whatever you're getting into, whether it's business, with getting involved in a business or with a business partner, you should check them out, check the business, and so on, check the market, and if it's a marriage or a potential partner, then again we need to check them out thoroughly. And Geshe gave the 4 banana analogy for checking out a partner. That some people are like the delicious looking outside, golden yellow banana, but inside all rotten. So they're not a good partner. They might look nice initially. Then there's another one that's all black and speckledy on the outside, and inside it's rotten too. And that's your worst, your worst partner. But then pretty good one is if you have a a black dimply banana on the outside, but inside it's very sweet and it's not overripe and delicious, and that's pretty good. And then Geshe said the best one is the golden skin on the outside, and just right on the inside too. So yeah, I don't know what sort of person that would be, but the point is not to rush in, but to analyse first. And same with our Dharma practice. So if we're going to do a retreat, then really check out, do we want to do that retreat? Do we want to do that practice? Are we prepared to commit to these 6 sessions or however many sessions a day? But then once we've determined, then we stick to it. We do that practice. So it's quite easy on retreat if you feel like you're getting bored, or you're just going over the same stuff. Then it's quite easy to drift off to another topic, and think that's a good thing to do. But it establishes the habit of not being able to develop concentration or deeper realization, because you just flit here and there and everywhere without much focus. So the Path to Enlightenment said one method to practice to attain to practice steadily is to practice in small steps and sequentially. So with regards to the Path to Enlightenment, it's taught sequentially. So the foundation subjects at the beginning that we need to practice and study, and they support our further practice. And also to encourage oneself. So to encourage yourself, rejoice in the virtue, rejoice in the merit, rejoice that you're applying yourself, and not all the time be looking for blissful experiences or sort of personality transformation, but to step by step support yourself, rejoice that you're practicing the Path to Enlightenment. So a quote in 1999, Geshe, he gave a teaching on this. One thing he said was, Shantideva said, ordinary people, any practice of the Dharma, they're always changing and broken. Therefore, realization's not possible. Always changing. So necessary the 3 self-confidences of action, self-confidence of energy, and self-confidence of delusion. If possible, any practice of Dharma is success. If you do this, any practice of Dharma is success. Otherwise, any practice of Dharma is like a bubble. It's not strong enough, and you don't get a good result. So that's referring to the 3 self-confidences that support steadiness. And they're presented on page 750. Again, from engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds, actions, delusions, and capability. To these 3 apply self-confidence. I alone shall do it, is the self-confidence of action. So that first self-confidence of action, we can ask ourselves, in my Dharma practice, am I waiting to be pushed along or nudged along or encouraged along? Am I waiting to be inspired before I'll really engage the path? And that we should really stop hoping for that inspiration or that push or that nudge. We shouldn't be waiting for someone to cajole us into practice or to mummy us along the path. So this self-confidence of actions that Shantideva says we must develop then it's a sense of not being dependent to others, to train my mind, to realize that my path is dependent on me. It's my mind. No one can access my mind. No one can access my mind like I can. It's my own arena. This is my creation, my mind. And to transform that into the mind of a bodhisattva or the mind of a Buddha, then it has to come from within. It has to come from oneself, saying, I'm going to do this. I'm taking responsibility. I alone shall do it. Geshe said, that sense gives you more energy and more power in your practice. And it's similar to sort of pride. It's similar to pride. Sometimes it's called the pride of action. There's a quote from Nagarjuna's friendly letter. It says, liberation depends on oneself, not through the help of others. So the primary thing, we can spend, many of us spent 20, 30, 40 years with Geshe. But we obviously gained, it was a huge blessing. But the liberation, we didn't gain liberation. Most of us didn't gain liberation. Or I can't think of anyone who gained liberation that I know of. It has to come from oneself, an absolute commitment to I alone will do it. I will do it. So, So that confidence we can progress with our own will. Similar to a young person's confidence with computers. So, a more elderly person, when they touch a computer, they're frightened to do this because they might go somewhere and they won't be able to get back, or they might break it, or so on, so on, so on. Whereas a young person has, they haven't learnt that particular program or whatever they're doing, but they just start clicking around. They're confident. They're confident that they can work it out. And I alone can do it. They jump onto Google, or they just right click, left click, see what the options are, and get it done. So we need that with our Dharma practice. Lots more right click, left click, so on. So Shantideva alludes to that quite a bit in engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds, where he gives verses like, you are your own protector. Who else will be this protector? Through subduing the mind alone, those sorts of... the wise will attain higher status through subduing the mind alone. So only we can subdue our own mind. Only you can subdue your mind. And so we can see, well, where's my aspiration to subdue and transform my mind? Looking back at that last section, aspiration. So the path encourages us to think, I will practice properly with patience and energetic perseverance. And my meditation, through that, my meditation will get stronger and get deeper. Geshe said this is a very important subject. Yeah. Again from Geshe, the oral teachings, Supreme Emanation Shakyamuni Buddha, in a sutra he said, my protection's by myself, my enlightenment's by myself. And this is really true. So we need to practice great compassion and love with no competition. And this will lead to enjoyment, happy life, a peaceful mind, being protected by oneself. So that's self-confidence of actions. I alone shall do it. Next one's self-confidence of delusions. Lord Tsongkhapa in the Great Exposition of the Stages of the Path. Sometimes it's translated as pride about afflictions, self-confidence of delusions. So Geshe also quotes these verses. So I must win against everything. Where is it? I can't see it there. I will conquer everything and nothing will conquer me. I, son of the lion-like conqueror, should develop self-confidence in this way. So, I, a son or daughter of the lion-like conqueror. So if we identify with something, a group or lineage that's stronger, that is strong, then we sort of feel stronger within ourselves, like a karate person identifies with their karate school, or you occasionally see in a movie, the soldier's been shot and is sort of crying a bit, and the commanding officer said, pull yourself together, you're a SEAL, and they find their strength. So with this verse, it's like, I, a son of the lion-like conqueror, I'm part of this bodhisattva lineage, so therefore I can have this confidence. I can have this confidence, I will conquer everything. Nothing will conquer me, because it's the lineage of the conquerors. The Buddhists have overcome all delusion and destructive emotion. And we can give ourselves a bit of a boost through our association with that lineage. So Shantideva said, when crows encounter a dying snake, they will act as though they were eagles. If I am weak, I shall be harmed by the slightest downfall. So I think the story is crows will normally confidently grab a snake. Eagles. If it's a strong snake, they'll still swoop down and grab it and then eat it. But a crow, if a snake's dying, a crow won't normally do that. But if a snake's dying, it's weakened. And so then the crow will act like an eagle and kill the snake and eat the snake. So if we're weakened, like the snake's weakened, then even little obstacles can derail us. A bit of criticism or a bit of misfortune, or our practice is taking longer than we expect, or some health difficulty and so on. So if we're weak, like a weakened snake, then the slightest obstacle is likened to the crow, can harm us. So Shantideva's saying, if we've got an uncommitted mind or a weak mind, if we're looking to easily bail out, then we'll be harmed by obstacles, and we'll be harmed by our own delusions. So I think the advice is not from Shantideva. He gives plenty of advice along this vein, not to over-respect our delusions, not to be controlled by delusions, because they're based on misconception, they're based on misunderstanding. In the same way, maybe not to over-respect other people's delusions, just recognise that they're delusions. So I know when I was younger, when someone was angry, you'd sort of sit back and, this is serious. But after some Dharma study, it seems more, it's just more samsaric nonsense, or it's more it's more delusion. It's sort of really, it's not to be respected. It's to be respected if someone's going to hurt you. Just be aware of that, but not to be respected as a delusion. So, so Shantideva is advising to be watchful of our delusions, which is difficult as delusions don't come with labels. When anger appears to the mind, it doesn't come with a label saying I'm angry. It just comes with a very convincing narrative of what's wrong and how it's unjust and what you're doing is right and so on. And the same with all delusions, with desire that I must have a relationship with that person. You've never even met them. Geshe used to joke about scenes, how people just see someone on the beach and chase after them, want to marry them, and they don't know the slightest, the first thing about them. But through the delusion of desire, being controlled by delusions. So through the Path to Enlightenment explains through the power of mindfulness and awareness, then we can avoid this being harmed by delusions, being weakened by delusions. Geshe, in an oral teaching, he said, we should develop a sense, I will completely control my delusions. My delusions will never control me. That's sort of, I suppose, our sort of warrior spirit in our Dharma practice. The internal enemy, the delusions. And also, the advice in the Path to Enlightenment is to quickly remove small negativities before they become big ones. So similar to someone puts a poison mushroom on your plate of food, then you discard it very quickly. So, how are we going for time? Okay. Then the third self-confidence is self-confidence and capability. And here Shantideva talks about powerless under delusions. Powerless under delusions, these beings cannot achieve even their own aims. They are incapable, but beings like I are not. For that reason I will undertake this. So this is gaining confidence that we can help others. Powerless under these beings cannot achieve their own aims. They're incapable, but beings like them. So most beings don't have the good fortune to encounter pure Dharma lineage from highly qualified teachers, or they don't know these methods, and so it's much harder to counter delusion if you don't have the methods. You're just left with your own mind floundering around, looking, so mostly being controlled by the delusion. So, we've had exposure to the path to enlightenment and to the Dharma, and so we do have this huge range of tools we can use, and using the ones that suit our personality the best, whether it's going back to the breath or directly opposing anger, or meditating on Mahamudra, or whatever it is, there's countless Dharma instruction, then we're using those methods. We can have confidence of our capability to engage the path and do these things for others, because a lot of people are stuck and don't have methods, so they end up, in violent households, or hitting the bottle, or getting addicted to something, or whatever, life spiraling out of control, becoming homeless, and so on. So so we've been blessed by this extraordinary lineage, and the instructions are that Shantideva's this sense of capability shouldn't be there shouldn't be any arrogance there. Should be with humility. We're thinking, I can do this because I've been fortunate enough to have shown these methods. So these three self-confidences are a summary. We should practice Dharma without expecting help, but through self-reliance. I alone shall do it. We can confidence. We can attain enlightenment, can overcome delusions and attain enlightenment, and confident we can help others. Those three self-confidences. And in Lord Tsongkhapa's great exposition of the path, he says, if you apply the aforementioned three prides, even great incompatible factors cannot block you. So you must generate these three kinds of pride. So we've looked at aspiration. Of the four powers, we've looked at aspiration. We've looked at steadfastness. Next is joy. The third one is joy. And Shantideva, again, in Path to Enlightenment, he says, in order to complete the task, as an elephant tormented by the midday sun plunges into a lotus lake, so one should venture into it. So you can, I don't know if anyone's seen an elephant down at St Kilda Beach, lying in the sun, but probably not. But you can imagine an elephant with their dark skin and huge body mass and a relatively small surface area. They fall asleep in the sun and then wake up so hot, and it's incredibly difficult to get the heat out, to cool down. So Shantideva is saying, imagine this elephant, sun-baked elephant, and it comes across a lotus pool and then just joyfully leaps into this cooling pool of lotuses, and it's happiness. So that's the sort of joy we should have when we're about to leap onto our meditation cushion, and a sort of a sense of relief that we're getting a time out from all our worldly nonsense and engaging with the three jewels, the Holy Buddha, Holy Dharma and Holy Sangha. So, we need the mental factor of joy. We need to enjoy our Dharma practice. They said Dharma practice naturally produces joy if we're practicing correctly and we're not mixing it with negativity or delusion. It naturally generates joy. So we should be like a child playing, like kids just find joy in very simple things, whereas adults, after a while, they sort of trudge along. But often kids can just, a very simple thing like a stick or a tree or whatever, playing with other kids, and they get joy from that, easily get joy. Whereas adults are often a bit too burdened down with, I'm not sure what. So we need that joy in our practice. Or similar, Milarepa was known as joy of listening. I think Marpa called him joy of listening. He just loved hearing the Dharma. And I know one quote from Mahatma Gandhi. He said, it was this time that my religious practice became a living force in me. So I can imagine that being associated with great joy as well. So I'll quote Lama Tsongkhapa, Lord Tsongkhapa, the founder of this tradition, and is known as the second Buddha in the Gaelic tradition. Just extraordinary. Tsongkhapa's time was an extraordinary golden era of Dharma. He said, you develop the power of joy after the power of aspiration. An intense yearning produces a joyous perseverance, not previously present. And you have achieved the power of steadfastness, which causes the perseverance that has already developed to be irreversible. When you first engage in an activity, you do it joyfully. And once you have engaged, you have a sense of being insatiable and that you do not want to discontinue the activity. And Shantideva said, like those who want the pleasure that results from play, bodhisattvas are passionate about any activity they have to do. Insatiable, they take joy in their work. So then our Dharma practice becomes easy. And the last of the four, so we've looked at aspiration, and then steadiness or steadfastness, and then joy. The last one is called discarding or rest. So Shantideva says, when strength declines, discard it for the sake of continuing again. When fully accomplished, abandon being content and aspire for the next and what will follow. So it's nice to think that we're particularly good at least one subject in the path to enlightenment. And this is my specialty subject, rest. Yeah, I've gotten pretty good at that one. So it's sort of unproductive. To push too hard is unproductive. And, we might have these sort of slightly ego-driven goals with our Dharma practice. And, we're not machines. We're, in one sense, incredibly complex. We've been around through it since beginningless time. We're a product of endless actions and endless karma, making who we are today. So we can't just develop this machine like I'm going like a Dalek, going exterminate. I'm going to exterminate all my negativity and force. And same, so we need to not push too hard and not be too relaxed, apply ourselves. Same in the advice given with developing concentration, that we want to be like the guitar string that's not just right, not too tight with our attention, not too loose. And so this discarding or rest helps support our goal. It helps us get to our goal. If we were to walk across Australia, then we'd have to rest, periodically rest. It will help us actually get across Australia. There's lots of research done on sleep to see the benefits for both longevity and health, and also the creativity of the mind, that often you can solve a problem you couldn't solve when you were tired, and then you wake up and straight away it's become clear. So we need to be gentle and kind to ourselves in our practice, and skillful, like I suppose all of the Dharma is about being skillfully aware of our own mind. Is that a delusion arising? Is that a virtuous thought? Should we nourish that? Should we oppose that? Should we try and concentrate harder? Should we loosen up? Should we practice more? Should we rest? So it's all the skillful monitoring of ourselves and our mind. So again, that's a sense of I alone shall do it. Only we can monitor how we're going, and how we should apply Dharma. All right, so we'll finish up there, and we'll complete joyous effort next week, and then start on the perfection of concentration. So we're finished just with the dedication prayers on page 34. By this virtue, may all beings complete the collections of wisdom and merit, and attain the two holy bodies arisen from wisdom and merit. May the precious superior mind of enlightenment be generated in those who have not yet generated it, and not decrease in those who have developed it, but increase continuously. Thank you, everyone.